Welcome to the Cursed Kingdom. This is week 2 of the curse, and yet we still see no resolution, no end to it all. So let us begin with an interview with Gina Curtis. Hello, Gina. It's a pleasure to have you in this Forsaken Kingdom. How are you, adapting to this cursed land?
Oh, I'm settling very well. It's very cozy. Got my nice warm hot chocolate with me.
Well, that's good to hear at least. So, could you tell us a brief bit about yourself?
Well, I am an Eevee, a blue Eevee, and I like drawing a lot and animating. I've just recently got back into animating, so that's really good. Yeah, I like drawing and cosplaying. My character Lily Blue. So yeah, she's the Eevee, so I'm the Eevee, and I'm just making friends and getting out and about. And yeah, I also make YouTube videos, Nightcore music, and I make vlogs as well. I do different types of challenges and meeting up with friends and do all sorts, really.
Very cool. So, what is a blue Eevee?
Oh well, Blue Eevee. I created Lily Blue from an app called Flipnote Hatano. It's a Japanese app on the DSi, and it's an animation app where you can create characters, make friends. But it sadly closed down in 2013. But I made different characters, Sonic characters, Wolf characters, and I made this character called Blue, and she either was it Pikachu, and then I turned her into an Eevee, and then she just stuck with me. So, and now she's on my journey.
Very interesting. So she's kind of like Vaporeon then, only not evolved yet.
Yeah, she's like a character or an OC, or like when furries have their characters, they like to dress up as their characters, and I like to dress up as mine too, and go to conventions, and yeah, it's really fun, and you get a little bit of confidence as well, and you just feel really happy when you're putting all the makeup on, and you're dressing up as like a different fantasy character, and it's really nice, and it's great to connect with people too that like doing the same thing.
So, how long have you been cosplaying then?
I'm actually quite new to the cosplaying community. I'm very inspired by lots of anime and different types of like music videos or animation videos. People who like Sonic or Wolves or like gaming. Yeah, so I just like to also even cosplay like some favorite anime characters. I'm hoping to do one from Daybreak Illusion, which is the orange character Akari. I did do cosplaying once in 2014. I did Caruso from Stan's Gate, and then I decided to do Lily Blue, my character, in May. So yeah, it was all good.
So, who is your favourite cosplay then? Like, what is your favourite character to cosplay? It's a better way of putting the question.
It'll probably have to be Blue, because
she's your own original character.
Act out as her, because she's a bit shy and cheeky, and she makes like all these cute expressions, and she loves hugs and lots of cookies, and yeah, she's quite energetic as well. So it's really fun to cosplay as her.
Right. And how long does it take you to make each cosplay? Like, how long does it take to put it together?
Well, not that long actually. I have a couple of friends that make furry costumes, and they do like their own designs, and I asked if anyone makes Eevee ears or ears, like cat ears or dog ears, or just general ears, and my friend decided to make me some blue ears and some paws, and I'm thinking about making a tail and maybe some feet, the what they call like shoes or something. But yeah, I can link her name in the description or something. Or
yeah, that would be really cool for anyone who's interested. I think they'd probably find that very helpful.
Yeah, if anyone's looking for some costume designs or someone you want to create a character, just ask these guys. They're really cool. And her name's Candy Floss. She's a fairy as well, and good friends with my friend Azzy. So they go to like LFM, London Fairs Meet, and Confuzzled. I haven't been there before Confuzzled, but I've been to LFM, so you might catch the EV around if you go there.
So how did you get started cosplaying then?
It was just like I think maybe just inspiration, seeing other people cosplay, and just looks really awesome. I just decided just to join in, because whenever I go to MCM, I don't really cosplay. I just go in my normal clothes, and I feel like, oh, maybe now that I have like some ears and some paws, I'll just put a bit of makeup on, like the black marker for a nose, and I'll just put dots on my cheeks and some blue lipstick, and then just go. Yeah, it's just be an Evie for a day. It's really fun.
Well, do you have any tips for those just starting out with cosplay then?
Yeah, like ask any of your like Facebook friends or social media friends if they got the similar interests. Also, like, don't like spend a lot of money online for costumes. Like, just maybe buy a wig or something, but make sure like it's like a good wig or something. But don't like, I don't know. Like, just,
well, I did actually manage to get a really good quality wig for, I think it was 10 quid on Amazon. So
yeah, like, start out small and then gradually work your way up. And it's all about having fun and just making friends and just being yourself and being who you want to be. And yeah, it's all good. I got a wig from, they did the Halloween thing in Poundland. I got like this blue wig for £5, so and it works. But lots of, like, you get bits everywhere, but I learned from someone that you have to keep brushing it, but I kind of put it in the back of the cupboard bit anyway. So, yeah, it's all good.
That is pretty amazing, though. I'm sure our listeners will find it very handy. Thank you so much for that. So, will you please tell us a bit more about your art?
Well, yeah, I have an Instagram and a Facebook page. So my Instagram name goes by Lily Blue Artist. So it's BLUEARTIST, and I just make like chibi art. I think some people call it fairy art, or just like sort of a cute sort of Pokemon-y style art. I don't know what it's called. I call it like my own, I guess, style. It's
well, the link will be available in the description. So
yeah, of course. Like, I draw like cute characters and whatever, really, and I do like commissions, but I haven't been commissioned for ages. So I mean, I'm really like, I do like a small price, but I'm not like professional yet. But you get there.
Oh yeah, it just takes a bit of time, but I'm sure you'll get there.
Yeah, I do like some digital and some traditional. But yeah, it's good. I don't know why I keep saying it's good, but
it's just your thing.
Yeah.
So, Gina, when did you start drawing then?
Wow, that is a really good question. I think I probably started drawing when I was born. Like, probably when I was like a little baby.
You were just born with a pen in your hand. You were just born with a pencil in your hand. You came out the womb with that pencil.
Yeah, definitely. I was quite a naughty baby. I used to just draw on the couch and pillows on my face. I don't know, anywhere that would look like a canvas in my eyes, you know. And I would just literally just wreck the house, but not really. Anything that like colouring books or things. And I used to pretend, there's like a little secret, I used to pretend like I was like Supergirl. And I used to just draw myself as a Supergirl character. I used to love superheroes. I love Spider-Man, and like superhero characters were a really good inspiration when I was younger. Always creating stories about flying in the air and meeting Spider-Man or something. But yeah, I've been drawing quite a young age, and then started practicing quite a bit in 2009 when everyone started getting into anime, and anime came out. It was quite big back then, and it is now.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and then YouTube, and then people like putting their animation stuff or their art stuff online, and it was just like, oh, this massive community. And then when I found out Flipnote on the DS, it was just like a whole new world. And I just tried to connect with as many people as possible, and also like add my creations on DeviantArt, and it's quite cringy, those old drawings, but you always improve.
Gotta start somewhere. Right, I'm sorry about that. So you were saying about you found everything to be a canvas, and it's quite interesting to hear, really.
Oh, I was literally a massive fan of stickers as well. I still have like a drawer full of stickers, and I think it's been passed on to my brother's children. Like they just love stickers. And one time my brother showed me a picture of my niece covered in stickers. I was like, oh my god, you're gonna go out in that? Yeah, man. I'm also collect like some pins and pin badges and things. I would love to sell some too, make some or something.
Yeah, and as I was saying, you got to start somewhere. So I think my first pieces of art 2 years ago were very cringy. Now that I look back at them,
I still have some drawings on the cupboard down in the kitchen. Like put up some artwork. There's one I did a drawing of a girl from a book cover. It was from an author, L.J. Smith, and that's on the wall still. I drew that in 2010, and it's still there, still on the wall.
Wow. So do you have any tips for any budding out there? Do you have any tips for any budding artists out there?
Oh, you know what? Be a forever. But you know, just draw and never say like you can't do something, because we can always draw. And just draw whatever comes to your mind. Just get a bit of paper, or even if you're in the car, just get your notebook from the car and just get your pen and just start doodling. And who knows what you might create? It might be the next Picasso. You know, you never know. So, you know, just and also get some inspiration from other artists online, or go to some museums. And if you're really passionate, just maybe go to like Poundland, pick up a pack of pens, and just be creative and never doubt yourself, because we're all creative in our own way, and
we all started somewhere.
Always, just inspire each other, and if you feel like that, or you can't draw like a certain thing, like you can't draw an eye, just keep practicing, and you'll get there. I'm also trying to practice on life drawing, like portraits and things. That's what I've got to do for my course, so just keep practicing.
So what got you into animation then?
Oh, I love animation. I just everything about it. It is just so fascinating. It's just, that's how it was like Disney and DreamWorks and how that just moving images that's coming to life, and you just, if you have your characters and create make them come to life. I mean, I would love to have like my own little movie, you know, my characters just going, hey, you know, but I think I'm going off topic. Well, so yeah, it was just like from the DSI on Atana Flipnote. I just saw people's different animations, and I just got so inspired. I wanted to create my own, and downloading their flips and watching it over and over again, and learn how to do a bit of lip syncing, learn how to like move things from one side of the page to another. And yeah, it was just really interesting. And I think it just stuck with me, like, because everyone in the community is so encouraging and so inspirational and just so lovely. And even in the art community and the MCM community, everyone is so lovely. And just, yeah, really nice. That no one puts anyone down. You're just always encouraging. I think that's what it's all about, you know, encouraging each other.
So what sort of animation do you do then? 2D, 3D, stop motion?
So I do 2D animations at the moment. It'll be just like black and like sketches or something, like little movements. At the moment I'm doing it at the moment it's 5 seconds, but I'm doing some lip syncing over a music thing. Like I think it's Akon right now, and I'm just putting the lips moving to right. I need you right now, and it's taking me like 2 hours just to do like 5 seconds of it. But it's what you really like to do, and if you're passionate for it, and also I do struggle with a lot of my with motivation, procrastination. I do, but yeah, just like talk to your friends and get some inspiration and stuff. But yeah.
So do we have
a question?
It was what sort of animation you specialised in, but you answered it with 2D. So, do you have anything new and exciting that we can look forward to then?
Yeah. So, for my projects that my tutor told me to do like a bouncy ball thing, just basic things, just to get the ball rolling, literally. Yeah, so I'm just gonna make like a little small music video. You know those memes on YouTube, like those 5-second clips, or people to make their characters go wacky and strange and interesting, and that's what I'm sort of aiming mine to be. Just a character just moving her lips, and maybe something else surprising can happen. You know, just have to wait and see what happens.
You'd have a good a good idea would be to look at some of the League of Legends music videos, because they've got some pretty awesome ones. If you're ever stuck for ideas.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like there's a My Little Pony where they took the Get Jinxed song and they used My Little Pony and they animated that. It is quite amusing.
I've been downloading some apps. There's one like called Plotagon. I forgot what I'm saying now. my mind's like on boom. Yeah. It's really good.
Well, it does sound pretty exciting. I know I look forward to seeing it, so I'm pretty sure some of our audience would be looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, it's like 5 seconds, but it's actually really catchy if you put it on loop. Yeah, I think YouTube makes
10-hour loop. Thank you, Gina Curtis. It was truly a pleasure to have you here. Just watch out for the monsters on your way out.
I will do. I'll try not to tread on their toes on the way out.
Yeah,
they look before I leap.
Yeah, they seem to have strengthened their patrol on the Cursed Kingdom since the last episode.
All right.
I hear Carmen had a bit of trouble trying to get out.
Did he?
She.
Oh, she.
Yeah, that was the author from the last episode. I think she did say that she had a few issues trying to get out of here, so. But it was a pleasure having you. Have a nice day.
Oh, it was fantastic. Thank you for having me.
No problems. I hope to hear from you in the future. Bye.
Yes, definitely. Bye.
Now it's time for a quick break, and this week we'll be listening to In Dust, a band inspired by melodic death metal, as they rise from within the earth to bring beautiful riffs and melodies. I hope you enjoy. Let us wander into the darkness of the unknown with the story Dearg Dúr by DJ Doyle. 3 days ago, my life was normal. I got up, went to work, came home, ate dinner, and cuddled with my heavily pregnant wife. Now? Well, now my world has crumbled all around me and my life a mess. No, a torment. 3 nights ago, my wife, my college sweetheart, went into early labour. It was the middle of the night when I awoke to her screams coming from the bathroom. I leapt from the bed and raced to her. My heart skipped 100 beats. I found her on the floor, in a pool of blood, crying for our baby's life. It took 20 minutes for the ambulance to arrive. By then, contractions had started, and they were 7 minutes apart. My wife, Diane, was rushed through for surgery by a large team of doctors and nurses. Her blood-soaked nightgown was the last image I saw before she disappeared through the double doors. It haunted me every minute. They wouldn't let me in to be with her. She must have been so afraid. I paced the corridors for 3 hours. Tears stained my cheeks and snot gathered on my sleeves. Finally, a nurse poked her head out and told me to go to the waiting room for the doctor, who would be with me in a minute. As I sat, my knees trembled uncontrollably. I heard the handle turning and jumped to attention. I must have looked a mess. Teary eyes, runny nose, with a shorts and t-shirt combo. Mr. Campbell, I'm truly sorry. I don't know how to tell you this. He fiddled with his pen and stood open mouthed. Just spit it out. Is it our baby? Did he not make it? It's more complicated than that. Your wife had internal bleeding and a high fever. There were complications with the delivery, and your baby was too long without oxygen. He put his hand on my shoulder and looked me straight in the eyes. I'm sorry, Mr. Campbell. Both your wife and baby didn't make it. What? No, this can't be happening. This is some sort of nightmare, I said as I swiped his arm away. I didn't want his sympathy. I wanted to see my family. They allowed me to see them once they had cleaned them up. My darling Diane, my little Even. They looked asleep, but when I touched their skin, I could tell there was no life in them. They were cold to the touch. It was then my world began to fade away in front of my eyes, and my soul left blank. Nothing. Empty. I watched the mahogany box, which contained my future, be lowered into the 6-foot deep abyss. 2 empty vessels, one cradling the other, sealed away for eternity. Family and friends left, comforting one another, to the wake in our local public house, one we hadn't visited in a year or so. Not since we were trying to have a family. It was just me, the corpses, and the descending sun at the graveyard. I fell to the ground and rested my head on the soft grass beside the deep hole. I asked them to wait until tomorrow to fill it in. I wanted to be as close to Diane and little Even for as long as I could. I stayed until dark and fell asleep. Hours later, I awoke with the sound of a voice singing. A soft melodic tone that I pictured dancing with the dust in the cool breeze. I opened my eyes and eerily realised the dim light of the moon had cast a glow on the headstones and monuments in the cemetery. In between a row of recently deceased, not too far away, stood a woman dressed in a white gown which appeared old and raggy. Her dark hair was long and silky with a tattered white flower crown. It was as if she floated towards me. "I feel your pain," she whispered. "What? You wouldn't understand." "I have lost love before. I have lost children too. I do feel your pain." Her voice carried a soothing tone that made my bottom lip quiver and tears flow from my eyes. "I can reunite you, if you want," she stated. If only that were possible. I sat up and stared at this mysterious woman who believed she could bring back the dead. It is. I can make it possible. For you. "Are you a witch?" I asked with a sarcastic tone. "Ha! Don't insult me. I am much more than that. I'm a friend of death. I can control it. Don't you want to see them again?" Visions of Diane with her large stomach painting Evan's room together last month invaded my thoughts. She flicked the bristles of the brush at me and screamed, laughing when I came towards her with a roller full of paint. She begged me not to paint her. When I put the roller behind me, she shoved the paintbrush into my face and wiggled before bursting out laughing and apologising. I let her get away with it because of her condition. Otherwise, I would have chased her around the house until she was covered head to toe with the blue-covered paint. An owl hooted close by and brought me to my senses. "Who or what are you?" "I am a Diagdul, and all I ask is for one kiss, and I can reunite you with your family." I had no idea what a Diagdul was, yet the name seemed familiar in the back of my mind. Although she was mesmerizing, I had just lost the love of my life. "My wife is just there. Why would you expect me to kiss you?" She started to sing again. The song was different from the last one. The one before sounded like a song of woe. This one of enchantment, with a melody that enticed my senses and made me forget my emotional state. My sadness, my grief, the feeling of being lost in this world. What is that song? It is an old song to give comfort to grieving souls. Did it work? Yes, I would love to forget my pain, but a song doesn't last forever. This one can. You don't have to be in pain. Come kiss me and you will see, she said seductively. Her tale of forgotten pain was too enticing. It still doesn't feel right for me to kiss you with my wife and child in the mud. do not wallow in pity. Let me kiss you, and you will not have any guilt. She came closer and lifted her hand towards my face. Her sky blue eyes flickered in the moonlight. They were practically glowing. The touch from her pale hand was cold yet soothing. What if she could unite me with my wife and son? Wasn't it worth the risk? I would do anything to hold them in my arms. She spun me around and swayed side to side as she hummed another song. We were dancing. I felt like I was moving on a cloud. Her pale pink lips closed in. I closed my eyes and smelt her aroma. Her breath burnt my nose like hot chili. When our lips touched, I had an out-of-body experience, but not a typical one. I was back in school and we were learning about Samhain and Halloween tradition. My teacher listed out characters from Irish folklore, and the Dieg Dúil was one of them. What was it about the Dieg Dúil? Dieg. Was it a colour? Yes, that's it. The colour. Red. For blood. My body quivered as her lips moved across my face and onto my neck, still kissing the stubble. I didn't feel her teeth sink in at first, not until she started to suck my blood. Then I felt it like the very essence of my soul was being drained from my body. I screamed, but as she drank my blood and moaned with delight, my voice grew weaker and weaker until a little gurgle came out. My skin turned a pale grey, and the other layers crinkled, yet she continued to feast upon me. Black and white spots appeared in front of my eyes, and then everything went dark. I opened my eyes again to see my wife and baby smiling at me, with a bright light behind them. They looked angelic and perfect. I returned a smile, as I never felt happier in my life, and reached for her hand. Diane's face changed. Her brows lifted in shock, and she turned to shield her and Even. A dark force grabbed me. Its touch burnt my skin, and it tugged me away from the arms of my love. I turned to see a beast with fire in his eyes and an evil grin. It growled and pulled me into a black rift. Beyond were the depths of hell. The last sound I heard was the Dieg Dúil laughing at my tortured soul. Let us have a brief break and listen to a bit more of Indust before we continue our short story segment with Rednecks Shouldn't Play with Dead Things by Scott M. Baker. Rednecks Shouldn't Play with Dead Things by Scott M. Baker. It sure is quiet out here, bellowed Ike in his normal boisterous voice. Haven't heard or seen a critter in a couple of hours. Maybe you scared them away by flapping that damn mouth of yours, chided Brian. We've been out here all morning and ain't seen nothing bigger than a squirrel. It ain't natural for these parts, not during hunting season. Buck spit a mouthful of Redmond into the campfire. The wad sizzled when it hit the flames. Maybe the animals are smarter than we think. Ike's right, agreed Ned. It's too quiet. Shit, man, David added. Kinda creepy if you ask me. Johnny huffed. You got a problem? Ned asked. You guys are such wimps. Scared of a little dark? Ned finished his Miller and tossed the empty can on the fire. Grow a pair. Like you? Brian asked. Yeah. If you're so brave, why did you bring that along? Brian pointed to the clearing where the group had parked their pickups. The truck closest to the campsite was Ned's Dodge Ram, with a trailer attachment. On the trailer sat a John Deere Series 2000 tractor. No reason. Ned became sullen and avoided eye contact with the others. What's going on? Sam asked. Brian motioned towards Ned. Captain Courageous here has no fear. His wife, since she'd never let him agree to go hunting, he hitched up the tractor and told his wife some bullshit story about taking it into town for repairs. Come on, Ned said defensively. You know what she's like. From somewhere around the campfire, one of them clucked like a chicken, generating a chorus of laughs at Ned's expense. Ned responded by flipping them his middle finger, which only made them laugh harder. Sam Grodin smiled as he raised a can of Miller to his lips. He appreciated more than ever being back amongst his friends. These guys were his best friends, some of them going back as far as elementary school. They looked up to Sam because he was the only one to have ever gotten out of their little town in the northwest Pennsylvania and make something of himself, even if it meant going to Iraq to do it. He had served 2 tours in Baghdad and would still be there if an IED had not left him deaf in one ear and with a limp in his left leg. None of that mattered though. He was home. Someone broke through the woods 30 yards away, shattering the calm with a terrified gasp. It happened so suddenly, Sam dropped his can of Miller, dousing his jacket in beer. The intruder staggered towards the campsite. Everyone jumped up and looked at each other, not sure how to respond. Brian reached down and picked up his Remington shotgun. When the intruder came close enough to be lit by the campfire, they all took a step back. Shit, man, what the hell happened to him? The intruder wore a blue flannel shirt, torn in several places and soaked in blood from a gaping wound in his throat. Given the extent of the wound and the loss of blood, it seemed amazing that the intruder was still alive. He sprinted towards them, stumbled and fell to the ground by the campfire. No one went to help him. With incredible effort, the intruder rolled over onto his back and stared up at the group. He gurgled his words a few at a time, pausing frequently to gasp for air through his ravaged throat. Please, Help me. Brian knelt down beside him. What happened, buddy? We gotta warn the town before it's too late. Warn the town about what? Must warn about the attack. What attacked you? The intruder took a deep breath and groaned. The dead. The deer? Ike looked at the others. What type of deer can do that? Buck spit out the wad of tobacco. He said the dead, you idiot. What the hell does he mean by that? Ned asked. Maybe he means them. Johnny pointed to the woods from where the intruder had stumbled. A figure stood at the tree line, staring at them through vacant yellow eyes. Even in the dim light of the campfire, Sam could see that something was horribly wrong. It wore a pair of rubber waders over a denim shirt. Like the intruder, its clothes were tattered and soaked in blood. Its skin was pale and waxy. Its right arm had been torn off just below the shoulder, the shattered bone sticking out from the gory stump. A gaping hole replaced its mouth, tattered flesh hanging from where it had chewed off its own lips, exposing teeth and gums. It paused for a second as its undead brain contemplated the line of men. Behind it, 5 other figures slowly emerged from out of the woods, each with the same pale, waxy appearance. A young woman in a jogging outfit stumbled forward, the top portion of its suit ripped off, exposing where the breasts and the flesh around its ribcage had been eaten away. A middle-aged man in a camis and a tan hunting vest stepped up beside her, tripping over its own intestines that hung out of a gash in its abdomen and dragged along the ground between its legs. 3 teenage boys in shredded mountain bike outfits, each one coated in a layer of mud and blood, brought up the rear. The first figure moaned, but not in pain. It almost sounded like a primitive command. The others responded with a growl and lumbered towards the hunters. A wad of tobacco fell out of Buck's gaping mouth and bounced off his shirt. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Shit, man, said David. It's just like one of them Cesar Romero movies. George, corrected Johnny. Huh? Cesar Romero played the Joker in Batman. George Romero made all them zombie movies. Shit, man, whatever. You know what this means? The others looked over to Brian as he pumped around into his shotgun. The hunt's back on, and now there are no limits. Maybe we should fall back and find a secure position. Screw that, there's only 6 of them. We don't know how many others there are. Don't go soft on me. I'm not. I just don't want to get killed. You won't if you shut up and do as I say, Brian spoke loud enough for them all to hear. Alright guys, take it slow and steady. Be sure to aim for the heads, just like in the movies. On my mark. Ready? Around him, Sam heard a chorus of rounds being chambered. Sam dropped to his left knee and squared his right leg to give him a more stable firing position. Aim! Sam raised his AR-15 and centered the sights on the first zombie's forehead. His finger wrapped around the trigger and pulled until he felt the tension. Sam took a deep breath and held it. Fire! The reports of 7 weapons being discharged thundered through the woods. A mist of blood and gore momentarily formed behind the zombies. The zombies stiffened in unison as the bullets tore through their skulls. For a moment, the undead stood there, teetering. Sam waited for them to topple over. Instead, they regained their footing and surged forward. Shit, man, we missed! We didn't miss. Brian practically mumbled the words, the confidence suddenly sucked out of him. Sam watched the undead draw closer. We need to fall back and secure our position. Shut up! Yelled Brian, snapping out of his shock. Ned, get over here! Despite his 300 pounds, Ned double-timed his position at the far left of the line. Brian pointed to the zombie in the rubber waders. Move closer and take that motherfucker down. Ned nodded and slowly approached the zombies. He pulled back the bolt of his Seco 85 Hunter, ejecting an empty cartridge, and pushed the bolt forward to load a live round into the chamber. When 10 yards from the wader zombie, Ned stopped, raised the rifle, aimed and fired. The bullet struck its mark, punching a hole in the zombie's brow an inch to the left of the first entry wound and blowing off the back of its skull. The zombie stumbled back, but regained its footing. A scowl distorted its already hideous face. It lurched forward, its dead eyes fixed on Ned. Lowering his rifle, Ned stared in disbelief, oblivious to the imminent danger. Ned! Called Brian. Get out of there! Snapped back to reality, Ned began to fall back, his eyes fixed on the approaching zombie. Failing to see the rock behind him, he tripped and fell backwards into the leaves. Most people could have quickly gotten up and escaped. At 300 pounds, Ned wallowed on the ground, a crippled animal waiting to be slaughtered. Sam raised his AR-15 and squeezed the trigger in rapid succession, emptying the entire magazine into the wader zombie's chest. A dozen bullets ripped into its torso, turning it into raw meat. Despite the onslaught, the zombie barely faltered. It closed to within a few feet of Ned. Raising his hands in front of him, Ned screamed as if terror would drive off the zombie. His screams turned into an agonized howl as the wader zombie dropped to its knees and sank its teeth into Ned's outreached arm. Within seconds, the 3 dirt biker zombies fell upon Ned, tearing off chunks of flesh which they stuffed into their mouths. The jogger and hunter zombies maneuvered around the feast, headed for the line of still living men. Buck dropped to his knees and vomited, puke mixing with his chewing tobacco. Shit, man. This is fucked, mumbled Johnny. What do we do now? Asked Ike, taking a few steps back. Brian remained silent, transfixed on watching his friend being eaten alive. Brian! Yelled Sam. That snapped Brian back to reality. Fall back! What about Ned? Sam asked. Brian raised his Remington and fired a single shot. Ned's head exploded, putting him out of his misery. Now move! Ike was paralysed with fear, but the sight of the undead swarming around and feasting on Ned galvanized him. He turned to run and slammed straight into a zombie that had closed in on him from behind. It wore a red flannel shirt and a bright orange vest stained with blood from where its neck and the left side of its face had been chewed off. The zombie grabbed Ike's head, holding it firmly between its decayed hands, and sunk its teeth into his face. Ike wailed as much from terror as from pain. The others heard Ike's death throes, but ignored them, for they had their own horrors to contend with. The moaning of the zombies to their front was now echoed from behind. Sam spun around and nearly wet himself. In addition to the zombie that attacked Ike, half a dozen others approached from the woods to their right rear, attracted by the noise. 2 more approached from off the dirt road, bumping their way in between the pickup trucks. The new zombies blocked their means of escape. "Shit, man." David's voice wavered on the brink of panic. "That's a fucking understatement," added Burke. "What do we do now?" Sam asked, looking to Brian for guidance. Brian said nothing. His eyes darted from one zombie to another, filled with fear and uncertainty. With each passing second wasted while waiting for a decision, the zombies drew closer. Brian's gaze focused on one zombie in particular, an overweight man naked from the waist up, the numerous chunks of flesh torn out of its chest. Brian's mouth quivered. He fell to his knees, whimpering like a child. Unholstering his Colt 45, Brian drew the automatic, cocked the hammer, and raised it to his brow. Before he could pull the trigger, the overweight zombie stepped up, grabbed Brian's pistol hand, and pushed it aside. Brian looked up at the zombie, his eyes wide and vacant. He didn't even cry out when the zombie bent over and clamped its teeth onto Brian's lips. Johnny observed Brian's breakdown and fought back one of his own. He moved closer to the others. "Sam, what do we do now?" Sam ejected the empty magazine from his AR-15 and inserted a full one. "We fight our way out." David and Johnny picked the 2 zombies nearest them and advanced. They opened fire, hoping to blast a path to safety. Johnny emptied 5 rounds in succession from his Remington A-bolt into the chest of a male zombie wearing a Boy Scout Master's uniform. The buckshot peppered its chest and ripped portions of decayed flesh out of its back, yet the Scoutmaster's zombie still advanced, reaching out to grasp its prey. Johnny waited until it closed to within a few feet and breached another round, only to find he was out of ammunition. He tried to retreat, but the Scoutmaster zombie clasped his shirt and dragged itself onto him. Johnny held up the rifle in front of the zombie, blocking it from getting too close. The zombie pushed against the rifle in a hunger-induced frenzy and knocked Johnny off balance. The 2 tumbled backwards onto the leaves. When they hit, the zombie's teeth sank into Johnny's shoulder. Johnny used the rifle to push it away, screaming as the chunk of flesh tore off between the zombie's clenched teeth. Before he could roll over and escape, 2 other zombies fell upon him. In the meantime, David aimed his rifle at a zombie in a country road crew uniform and began firing. Each bullet tore away a portion of skull and brain until, with the final shot, the remnants of its head were blasted away. Decapitated, the zombie continued forward, though it blindly steered away from David. David backed away, waiting for a chance to run, and bumped into something. Turning around, David stared at the Wader zombie. It glared at him, bits of Ned dangling out of its mouth. With an animalistic growl, the zombie plunged its teeth into David's face. As the undead closed in around them, Sam watched and learned. The zombies couldn't be stopped, but maybe they could be immobilized. They can't eat you if they can't reach you. He lowered the barrel of his AR-15 and aimed at the leg of the zombie closest to him, a once gangly hunter whose beard and mustache were caked with gore. Sam squeezed the trigger several times until its leg was severed just above the knee. The zombie toppled to one side and sprawled onto the ground. Sam jumped over the zombie as it flailed around. He ran a few feet before spinning around and calling to Buck. "Shoot out their legs, it'll slow them down." 4 zombies were closing in on Buck from each side. Buck lowered his 12-gauge shotgun and blew off the leg of the zombie in front of him. It hopped around unsteadily on its one good leg. Buck went to run, but a second zombie grabbed him from behind, wrapping a partially fingerless hand around his neck. It pulled Buck against its chest and ripped into his neck with its teeth, tugging at his flesh and muscles. The third and fourth zombies joined the feeding frenzy, one grabbing Buck's right arm, the other dropping to its knees to gnaw on his leg. Buck's anguished scream turned into a gurgle as blood poured down his throat. Sam turned to run, but his left leg was held in place. He fell over, wrenching his ankle in the process. Looking down, he saw that the intruder who died at their campfire had come back to life. Lowering the barrel of his AR-15, Sam fired 3 rounds, vaporizing its wrist. The hand still clutched to his ankle. Sam rolled onto his chest and scrambled to his feet. A bolt of pain shot up his left leg, so intense he nearly toppled over. Steadying himself, he assessed the situation. Sam was the only one still alive, and uneaten. All around him, the zombies knelt by his friends, feasting on them as if they were a nightmare buffet at Shoney's. For a moment, Sam thought he would lose grip on his sanity as he listened to the slurping of flesh being torn from bones, to the chewing and gnawing, to the groans of satisfaction as these things sated their hunger. As horrifying as it sounded, Sam realised it also signified his good luck. These things were so busy feeding on his friends they ignored him except for those 2 zombies approaching from where their pickup stood, and they were still several yards away. Despite the throbbing in his ankle, Sam crouched and aimed his AR-15 at the first zombie and fired 3 shots in rapid succession, shattering both its knees. The zombie teetered to one side and tumbled over. Switching targets to the second zombie, he fired 4 more shots, blowing off both its legs. It collapsed face first onto the ground. With the path clear, Sam could now escape. That was when he noticed the deathly silence that had fallen over the campsite. Slowly turning his head, he saw 11 pairs of undead eyes staring in his direction, their attention having been drawn to him by the gunshots. It was as if they had only just realised his presence. There were no emotions in their expressions, just a collective recognition that they all saw the same thing: fresh meat. As one, the zombies lumbered to their feet and staggered towards him. Sam hobbled away as fast as he could, but only made it as far as the pickup trucks before the throbbing in his ankle became too intense for him to continue. He leaned against the bed of Johnny's Dodge as he tried to figure out his next move. With his twisted ankle, the best he could do was hop on one foot, which meant if his luck held out, he might make it a few hundred yards before the zombies caught up with him. He thought about taking one of the trucks, but he had rode up with Brian and the keys for the other trucks were somewhere amongst the pile of gore that used to be his hunting buddies. That left only one alternative. Limping over to Johnny's trailer, Sam lowered the twin ramps, crawled up into the bed and mounted the John Deere. Thankfully, Johnny had backed the tractor up onto the trailer, so rolling off would be easy. Sam started the 25 horsepower engine which turned over on the first try. The Scoutmaster zombie reached the trailer first, slowly climbing one of the twin ramps. Sam shifted into drive and accelerated. The tractor lurched forward and down the ramp, the front wheels digging into the Scoutmaster zombie and pushing it down. The tractor jerked to the left as the front wheel rolled over the zombie, coming dangerously close to tipping over. Sam leaned to the right as far as he could to counterbalance the tilt. Finally, the rear wheel rolled over the zombie and the tractor pulled onto solid ground. And into a swarm of a dozen of the living dead. The tractor crashed into 6 of the zombies, momentarily slowed against their weight. Dead hands clawed at him. Hungry mouths strained to take a bite out of him. Sam slammed his foot down on the accelerator and steered right. For a moment, he feared the tractor would stall. Then slowly, the tractor gained traction and began pushing through the zombies, cutting them down like stalks of wheat. The John Deere swung to the right and pulled away. The zombies followed, but soon fell behind. Rolling past the pickup trucks, Sam steered the Dondo onto the dirt road and headed for town. Sheriff Burford Wiggins pushed open the office door and began talking before he even entered the room. Okay, what's so damn important that you had to call me in on a Saturday night? Where do you want me to begin? Andy stood up to greet his boss, taking a stack of notes from off his desk. Despite his frazzled expression, he was still organised. Started about 2 hours ago and hasn't stopped since. First Junior arrested Sam Grodin out on the Lake Road, who was riding a tractor and ranting about his hunting party being eaten. Eaten? Andy shook his head in frustration. Sam stunk of beer, so Junior booked him on a DUI and tossed him in the drunk tank to sleep it off. Is that it? You wish. Andy thumbed through the notes. We've gotten calls from families whose kids haven't returned from a Boy Scout outing near the lake. They were supposed to be home before dusk. We also received reports about trouble up at Lover's Point, as well as a disturbance at the campground. Old Man Johnson called about 10 minutes ago complaining about someone bothering his cows, and that doesn't even include half a dozen missing persons reports we've received. I've already dispatched 2 units to Lover's Point and 2 to the campground. That's when I ran out of units, which is why I called you in. Shit. Bufford removed his Stetson and placed it on the counter. He used his hand to flatten down his comb over. Alright, calling Curtis and send him out to Old Man Johnson's. There's probably just some college kids horsing around, and I don't want Johnson shooting them. I'll go check out the lake and see if I can find those Boy Scouts. Roger that. Bufford placed his Stetson back on his head. This is gonna be a hell of a long night. Well, it's that time again for another break. So let us listen to a little bit more of In Dust before we continue our podcast with an interview with Javan Bonds regarding his series of zombie novels.
Shut their face, I'm done with your self-righteous indignation, taking up more space than what is meant for your possession. I try to lead and shed some light into your fragile condition, yet you buy the hand that feeds you and ruin your ambition. I can no longer set you free, because you turned against the peace. I won't try to save you. That bridge has been burned. You are left to your own devices, where there will be nothing left to learn. Cloth is green. I'm finished with your forces of victory. Using the role of a victim is an act made unholy. I can no longer set you free, because you turned against the peace. So just stay silent and ask for nothing. You will get nothing here from me. When the fault has shut your mouth, you have nothing more to say. Stay silent, stay dumb, stay lost, stay lame. When the fault has shut your mouth, you have nothing more to say. Stay silent, stay dumb, stay lost, stay lame, or I'll make you go away. Remain a fool. Remain unlearned. Remain innate. Remain
So, I hope you enjoyed listening to a bit more of In Dust. I know I did. And now let us have an interview with an author that we have previously had featured on this show, Stephen Landry, about his new book. Hello, Stephen. I hope you didn't have too many issues getting into the Cursed Kingdom. It is truly a pleasure to have you here, though.
You absolutely wouldn't believe these portals. The tech from the future is just astonishing.
You should share it with me. Maybe I can get out. I'm kind of stuck here.
This interdimensional travel is everywhere. Problem is, it only works in America. Don't know why. You can't have it.
Damn it. It'd be so handy. Well, I guess we should start with your latest book, Stardivers Dungeons of Bane. What's it about?
Stardivers Dungeons of Bane is a lit RPG science fiction survival horror that is also for young adults. I never tried to be too graphic with it. I wanted something that like a teenager could get into the same way that like people read Maze Runner or Hunger Games.
Very cool.
It's about it's a first person novel, and my main character is named Breck, and he has had a lot of bad stuff happen to him. He lost his parents when he was young. He lived on the streets for 2 years, and during the course of the first chapter, he actually loses his best friend, which sets the events of the book in motion.
Wow, what trauma there.
Yeah, it's pretty grim at the beginning.
So, how long did it take you to write it then?
It took me a year.
That quick? Wow.
My first book took me 3 years, and my second book took me 1.5. Every time I've written something, I've gotten faster and faster, and I've learned how to improve my editing as well.
So what difficulties did you face when you were writing it? Hello?
Hold on, I gotta think about that one.
Okay, go for it.
I actually do a complete outline before I write something. So I already had about 30 pages of notes and world building, and the hardest challenge of it was, because it was a lit RPG, was setting up a gaming system inside of it that involved skill points, and I wanted a gigantic skill tree. So I made this skill tree with 62 skills in it, and I wanted each skill to play a pivotal role in the novel, or at least be there so that I could use it in the series.
So you're a plotter then?
I am a plotter, but I'm also a pantser, because when I'm writing, I will get an idea in my head, and then I'll end up writing like 4,000 words on that idea and sewing it into the story.
I'm quite similar in my own writing. I guess process, so I get what you mean.
It's like tunnel vision when you're sitting at the keyboard and you have an idea of what you want, and then that idea starts to spin and the words just start to flow out. It's almost like magic. Maybe
it is a form of magic.
It could very well be.
Well, I was going to ask you, what can you tell us about your creative process, but you practically answered it for me, so already. So, what inspired you to write... Let me get the title again. Stardivers Dungeons of Bane. God, that is a mouthful to remember.
You can just call it Stardivers.
That works a lot easier. So what inspired you to write it then?
I am a huge gamer. I love video games. I've been playing video games all my life. I love science fiction. Gotta give a shout out to Doctor Who.
Oh yeah. It's always Doctor Who with you Americans.
Exactly. Along with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, that was better.
The original that was on BBC. The books are amazing as well.
So,
But
did you base your characters on any real life people then? Was there any real life inspirations, or was it all just what you've watched?
Almost all of them are based on people that I have met or my own experiences.
Right.
It's very difficult to get into that. I will say that one of the characters, my favorite character, his name is Gorge, and he is actually a half orc, half cyborg, and he is based on one of my good friends that is a Marine.
That's pretty cool. So, like, this half orc, half cyborg, is this like a fantasy cross science fiction, this book? Or is it... Because it sounds very cross between the two.
There is a slight magic system in the game world, but it is explained with pseudoscience and basically nanites. The book also goes into science fiction fantasy because there are pocket dimensions.
That's pretty cool.
So I tried to explain everything as best I could without it totally going into hard sci-fi, but still keep that thrill of the unknown and discovery.
Definitely sounds interesting. So, with it being sort of like an RPG, how have you managed to set that out then?
Like I said before, the book has its own level. The characters have their own levels, and there's a leveling system in the game with an immense skill tree. There's also quests that are assigned to them.
Okay.
And every enemy have their own hit points, their own stamina. All the characters have hit points and stamina, and the more they attack, the less stamina they have. Different attacks drain different amounts of health.
Do you, as the reader, get to choose their attacks then?
No, unfortunately not.
It's not like one of those sorts of books then. But it definitely does sound pretty awesome. Very interesting.
I also have quick lore and pro tips that are like little in-game bits inside the book that explain like the world around the characters.
That's cool. And what about Ariana and the Spirit of the Storm? That is due to come out next month. What can you tell us about it?
Ariana and the Spirit of the Storm comes out September 6th. Ariana, it tells the story of a young elvish girl who has to travel across an entire kingdom collecting these ancient relics to break a curse that has caused a drought over the entire land. And it's all happened since the day she was born. You see, like, okay, she has this.
So it isn't to break the curse that I'm stuck under, is it?
No, unfortunately, you're still cursed. We'll have to work on that in another episode.
Yeah, great.
Well, don't sound too excited.
Well, I was hoping it'd be now. God. Jesus, is it too much to ask? I mean, already on the 3rd episode. We've been here for like 3 weeks.
I'm working on hacking the interdimensional portal device. Remember, I said it only works in America. I've got to go to the black market for this stuff.
All right, so carry on with...
very difficult.
Carry on with Ariana and the Spirit of the Storm.
So she has this magical ability to create and control lightning, which she's always tried to keep hidden. But it doesn't take her long to figure out that both the curse and her magic are connected. It turns out the day she was born was the day that the curse was put in place. The three spirits of the storm, rain, thunder, and lightning, were all enslaved to these three ancient relics. And she's actually one of them, and she goes on this quest to discover the other two. And it turns into this coming-of-age story that's complicated by the fact that she has this whole other personality living inside of her, making her do these things that are totally, like, contrary to who she truly is. And she has this fear that if she breaks the curse, that she's going to be a different person.
So it's another teenage novel then?
It is a young adult. And throughout the journey, and this is kind of cool, and this was a fun part of it to write, there are these journal entries that are left to her by her father, because he actually passes away. And he had spent years in secret trying to find a way to break this curse. And she's accompanied by Chas, who is the mayor's son, the mayor of the town that she lives in. And the mayor absolutely does not like her or her father. He has become like a big brother to her and has helped take care of her while her father was away. And they're eventually joined by Egris, who is a faun who had helped Ariana's father on his journeys.
Definitely,
and that's kind of
interesting.
That part is actually kind of a big deal because growing up, the elves, Ariana and Chas, the entire village and kingdom were led to believe that the fauns were evil creatures that attack and kill people in the woods.
Right. So I'm going to have to stop you because I don't want you revealing too much about the story. As interesting as I find it, it probably wouldn't be good for sales on your part.
That's all prologue.
Seriously? That's all prologue? Wow. There's a lot to it then.
It's actually, we plan a 3-book series with several spin-offs.
Nice. Well, I'm guessing you've already pretty much answered my next question as well, which is, do you intend to write any other books? Do you have any other books in the works at the moment?
Yes, I do. I have 2 more Stardivers novels. And then there's going to be 3 complete Temple of the Storm novels that feature Ariana. And then there's also going to be 3 shorter novellas that are set in that world.
So are there any future publication dates for these works? I do believe you said that Ariana's story comes out on the 6th of September?
The 6th of September, yes.
Any others, or just that one so far?
Just that one so far. We don't want to announce anything just yet.
Well, I'm pretty sure we're all going to be looking forward to Ariana and the Spirit of the Storm. I know it sounds really interesting to me, but that's sort of like my scene.
I love science fiction and fantasy, and being able to actually write novels in both genres has been a blessing.
So my final question for you is, do you have any tips for any writers out there that are just starting out? They may not have even put pen to paper yet on their book idea.
Never give up. Absolutely never give up. If you are dreaming about being a writer, be a writer. Put pen to paper, put your fingers to the keyboard, express yourself however it is that you want, however it is you can, because creativity is the ultimate gift. It is a beautiful thing. Like we said earlier, it is magical.
It truly is. The imagination is a wonderful yet also terrifying thing. As I think we've all discovered to some degree. Or at least I'd hope we have.
Oh, well, without a little terror, we wouldn't be able to understand the good.
And that is true. Anyway, it was a pleasure having you here in the Cursed Kingdom. I doubt you're going to have any problems getting out of here. With your magic portals that you won't let any of the rest of us use.
Interdimensional travel.
God, you selfish Americans not letting the rest of us give it a go.
Just wait. I'm working on it.
Well, you best hurry. It's been 3 weeks now.
4 where I'm from. But...
Anyway, I hope you have a nice evening.
And you as well. Have a good night.
You too. So by this point, you should know what time it is. It's break time! And we are back for our final segment of today's podcast. A film review of In the Mouth of Madness by Charley Dixon. This is a bit of a mind twist of a movie and was directed by a very well-known horror director and music composer, John Carpenter. John is also well known for writing the 1978 movie Halloween, which I also may add is one of my favourite classic horror slasher movies. This film is a fantasy horror and mystery. An insurance investigator, John Trent, who had been put in an asylum, tells his tale about himself to a doctor. He talks about a horror writer and slowly discovers that the impact of the horror writer's books have on his fans is more than inspirational. Okay, character time. I will only be talking about major characters, not minor characters. First up, we have our crazy guy, John Trent, who is played by Sam Neill, who is well known for the role of Grant in Jurassic Park. Now, at first it took me quite a bit of time throughout the movie to finally understand this character, but it was very well developed, and the acting skills are really good. The character had quite a lot of plot twists throughout the film, and I started to like the character nearer to the end, but at the beginning, I did find him a bit boring. The next main character we have is Linda Stiles, who is played by Julie Carmen, known for Fright Night Part 2. Her character was a typical sexy editor/secretary type, or at least that's how it came across to me at first. However, her character eventually annoyed the hell out of me, and is the least favourite character. One more character that I need to mention and I quite enjoyed, despite he had barely any screen time, but was always mentioned, was the horror author himself, Sutter Kane, who is played by the guy from the Da Vinci Code, who, as a note from myself as the reader here, can never pronounce his name. Anyway, his character gets mentioned quite a lot throughout the film. It was more nearer to the end that we finally did get to meet the man, and boy, was I surprised. The character was talked about in being the greatest horror author and being better than Stephen King himself, so he must have something going for him. But I loved how creepy the character was, and the actor played him very well. So, for me, he's my personal favourite. Spoiler time! I liked a lot of scenes in this movie, but the most memorable part of the movie is the old man on the bike and just getting hit by the car. I just enjoyed how they drive past the same man on the bike, and then eventually the biker, I assumed he did it on purpose, crashed into the car. Though I really did not like most of the beginning part of the movie, I just felt it was a bit slow and boring. Also wished there was some more scenes with the doctor. The type of people I would recommend this film to is to those who enjoy a good plot twist and a bit of a screwed up mind in the end experience. It is a bit slow at the beginning, but give it a chance and it gets better later. I personally rate this film 6 out of 10. The characters were good, the story was interesting, but was a bit slow for me. So this is in pre-production now and I'm recording that. I do apologise for the sound quality. I don't really know what happened there, but I have tried my best to fix it with what little knowledge I have at the moment. I am trying to expand on that. I do apologise again, and I thank you for being patient through that agonising event. And that concludes our show today. I hope you enjoyed the second episode, and maybe it made the curse a little less gloomy for you. Or maybe you're cowering in a corner attempting to shield yourself from your own insanity induced by this show. Whichever it was, don't forget to tune in next week. And if the straitjacket isn't on too tight, then press that like button and subscribe. Or you could use your nose to do it. Whichever works for you. And if you want to support Faith Hill Productions and all that we create for you guys, then go to our merch store. I have no doubt you'll find something to stylize that padded room of yours.